Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, to order at 6:02 p.m. And may you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Carol, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Heather Muller,
Here.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Here.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Here.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Here.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Here.
Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck,
Here.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Here.
Everyone is present, and we have a quorum.
Well, thank you. We'll go to number 4 now, which is consent agenda. The commission may at this time take a single action on any or all items listed as consent agenda items. Any member of the commission may remove any item from the consent agenda for discussion and cause a separate vote on the matter later in the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the Park and Recreation Commission accept the agenda as presented and approve the minutes from the November 3rd, 2021 regular meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Carol, you got it? Frank and Luciano?
I do.
Okay. Carol, may I have a roll vote now, please?
Sure. Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Muller,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes. Okay, consideration of approval of tonight's agenda.
Can we just do that?
You already did that, Frank. I'm sorry. I thought you had.
Your next red.
And my next red. Okay, that's down to information and reports. Do any commission members have something they have attended or would like to share? Let's start over with Judy.
Well, I did attend the Make a Difference Day, and that was quite, that was a lot of fun. A lot of hard work, couldn't walk the next day, but it was good, it was good. And I think that's about it.
I may look like a young spring chicken, but I worked the Halloween event and I pulled a muscle, but it was worth it. It was a much bigger turnout than I ever thought. And I can say pumpkin bowling is not my forte now. So in case anyone's wondering, it's not that easy.
Well, I've been going to the gym. It's looking good in there. Place always looks sharp. The view from that walking path is incredible. So that's been my contribution to the Park and Rec Commission last month.
I'm actually working on a few things for the future for Park and Recs with the Rotary Club. So even though you had this month, I've been very, very busy in the sense of work and planning a wedding. So I haven't been able to really get a chance to get out there and show my pride.
Okay, I don't have anything to report. I've been kind of busy on the home front lately.
I did start the Parks to Parks, My Park, My Gym program. And so like the November they had was, I don't know what it's called over by the Multi-Gen Center in the library. Does that trail have a name?
No.
Okay. So I was super excited and I talked my husband into it and I was happy because of course I did it at like 1:30 in the afternoon, which, I guess there could have been better times. And I ran out of water, so he shared his with me, so I thought that was great. But I'm looking forward to my t-shirt because I'm going to accomplish each one. I think there's 4.
Nice.
4? November, December, January, February, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
No comment.
Luciano?
I have no comment.
No comments? You were busy on the home front too?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Liz and Carol, do you want to contribute for this?
Nope.
Nope.
It's your guys' turn.
You're going to be on next
Yep.
here. Okay, Director Langenbach, would you please give us your staff report?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Standage. So just a few things on the parks. The biggest important one is the dog park, so we're still moving right along. There definitely are, it doesn't look like there's a lot going on there at times when you drive by, but Jamie and I were there for our meeting yesterday, our on-site meeting, and it's amazing some of the stuff that's happened inside that area. They should be starting irrigation, putting in the irrigation at the end of this week or early next week, so we'll start seeing a little bit more digging up of everything. But they're going right along, and we're hopeful that we will still be kind of that end of January timeframe that construction will start to wrap up. And we'll know more at our next meeting. We don't have any kind of a soft opening or anything like that. We'll know that as we get closer to end of completion. But more than likely, something at the end of January, sometime in February. So that's the update on the dog park. BLM, I just want to keep it on your radar, even though nothing new has changed. We are still waiting on the appraisal. We went and did that site visit. I shared with you a couple of, maybe 3 months ago. We're still waiting on those details to come back to us, and when I know more, I will certainly share with you. But as a reminder, especially to those who are newer, the BLM appraisal process for the rodeo grounds is like a 2-ish year process. To even get to the point where we could even consider purchasing it. So we're still waiting on some of those things to finish up. We just got notice from the state parks about our Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that we have been given our notice that we can proceed. And so we're going to start working on getting all of those contracts started and looking to see. So that's what's happening at Superstition Shadows Park. We'll be looking to see which of those projects will get started first this year. The new restroom, we have renovations to the pickleball and tennis courts, renovation of the skate park fence. All of those are going to be happening over the next 3 years. And so that funding is spread out. And it really just depends on who can start what first, because of the way that construction materials are right now is a little bit challenging. So we'll be working with all those different contractors to see which of the projects there we can start off with.
Excuse me, Liz, is that fully funded by the grant, or is it?
So it is half and half, so that's the 50-50 one. The city budgeted, so we have budgeted the other 50%, and it's spread out over 2 to 3 years, so it wasn't as big of a chunk of money. And just as a reminder, this is a little over $1 million worth of ADA improvements, lighting, all kinds of different things at Superstition Shadows Park. And so our grant is for a little over $500,000, and we're on the hook for the other half of that. So I'm excited about that. The other grant, though, that again, we've just been keeping you in the loop on, this is another state parks grant. It just made it past the last notice of environmental clearance items, and that's the one for Silly Mountain Park. So we have not received the go-ahead to get started there yet. Those 3 we have those kind of already in the queue to get started as soon as we have the funding. That one's a little different. It's an $82,000 grant, and we only have to pay about $4,000. So that's a recreation, the Recreation Trails Program grant. So that's an exciting one. So hopefully we'll be able to see movement by the next time we talk with you on that. And that concludes what I have for parks, and so I'm going to turn it over to Jamie now for the recreation portion of our staff report. Hey, that's you, yeah.
That's your spot.
Yeah, my permanent spot.
Oh, you're fine.
Good evening and welcome, Parks and Rec Commission members. In your packet, you will find that there is a little flyer that has some snowflakes on it. I went ahead and put that together instead of bringing you maybe a dozen flyers of all of our programs and events. I thought I would save a little bit of paper and put it all on one for you. Know that all of our stuff can be found either on our website through our registration link or on Facebook. So if you want more specific details, you can always email me directly and I'll get it to you. Just a little recap. In November, we did solidify and we are moving forward with changing over our Parks and Recreation software. You and the public won't see any difference until late spring, but we are really excited about this transition. But it means that our back staff are going to be pretty busy in the next 2 months getting prepared for that. We did start our Park to Park Challenge in November.
We have about 45 active participants, but anybody can start that challenge at any time. Every month, we're going to have a different park or trail or fitness type of activity featured, trying to get folks out at our parks. If you complete it, and you can go back and you can, if you start in January, you can go back and do Novembers and Decembers on your own in January and still get your shirt. Next Friday, we'll be preparing our Silly Mountain hide and seek. They'll be putting out Christmas little pine cones along the way, and you hike along the trails to see how many you can find. So it was pretty popular last year. We did elves, but we found that a lot of the elves didn't come back. So we are going with a different little hide and seek object out there. So we're excited about that. Also in November, we finished up our annual pickleball tournament. It was almost completely maxed out in all 3 divisions. We also have golf that's going on right now, and our youth flag football will be finishing up here this month. So we've had a busy November. Almost every single weekend either had a concert or a movie or a community project going on. We did have Halloween, and we, I don't think you were here last meeting, but we very, very much appreciated our volunteers. A lot more people than we expected. We feel that we're a little bit more prepared for larger numbers. This coming Saturday is our holiday event, so another one of our big signature events. We have over 30 light parade entries, so we're pretty excited about that. We have a little bit, I think we have about 1 or 2 more than we did in 2019, and we have about double what we did last year in 2020, so super excited about that. Also coming up in just a couple of weeks is our Read and Rec, and we are partnering with the library to feature our story walk out at Prospector Park, so that's coming up on December 10th. Yes, that's the right date, December 10th. So you're more than welcome to look through. We don't stop, like everybody says, during the Christmas season and the New Year's and the holidays and everything like that. You catch a break. Nope, we're getting ready for January. We have a ton of exciting activities coming in January. We are partnering with the Centennial event. We have a large role in that. Not our event. We are partnering with them, and we're excited for that one-time event because it's the Centennial celebration, so we're excited about that. In regards to the dog park, about the same time that we'll be laying the turf, we will be starting a campaign about Know Before You Go, hoping to educate the public of what our rules are going to be and what people can expect. I was really excited on our Google reviews for one of our parks. We got a really nice review, but the gentleman had said, I would love it if AJ had a dog park. I guess there's nowhere for my dog to go. So I was really excited to take the opportunity to educate him that, yes, we will have our own dog park very soon. So that is our recreation recap. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, all right. And I do appreciate seeing all the faces out there. And again, there's always an opportunity to catch us at something. So even if it's coming to work out, we appreciate seeing you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Number
Chairman Standage.
Yes, ma'am.
If I could interrupt for a minute. Joel was suggesting that we flip the 2 next items. So we have no old business, but on new business, we have, oh, whoops, am I in the wrong? Instead of doing his update first and then the election, doing the election first. And then, but then does the new, if there is new people, would they take over then at that moment or at the end of the meeting? That's why we've normally had it at the end.
It's discretionary. I'd look at it that way.
Okay. So do the elections now?
I would have started out that way, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let me get this.
So we're going to just skip down, and everybody has the packet in the way that it works. So remember, these last few years, we have there's definitely a little process that we follow, and you have the order of how we open up the nominations and close them, but just want to make sure you flip to this little packet that you have, okay?
Yes.
And you want to be on page 1 because it's a little bit lengthy. So we'll help you along, though.
Thank you. All right. I call for a motion to open nominations for the position of chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I move that we open the nominations for the position of chairperson.
Does anyone second the motion to open nominations?
Got him.
Okay, you got it, Frank
Got
and
him. And then
Luciano?
Luciano, yep.
Okay. May I have a roll call vote to open nominations, please, Carol?
Certainly. Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Shanebeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Muller,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes.
We have all aye vote.
Okay. Okay. May I get a nomination for the position of chairperson?
Honorable Chair, I nominate Frank for the position of chairperson.
I respectfully decline. Thank you, Terrell, but I'll talk to you.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so.
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to,
I know, so then, okay.
now, if we have someone
Yes,
decline.
and you just ask again, so now it's your second
Okay.
time asking.
Okay, I'll ask again. May I get a nomination for the position of chairperson?
Honorable Chair,
Yes, Judy.
I nominate Heather Muller.
Okay.
I want to decline that. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's two declines.
I know.
You guys are trying to make me feel bad, but, okay, just kidding,
Okay,
sorry.
we'll go back
Inappropriate.
again. May I get a nomination for the position of chairperson?
Honorable Chair, I nominate Wayne Standish for the position of chairperson.
Okay. I'm trying to make sure I get this right.
Got to do it three
You just gotta go one.
I need to ask again for nomination of the position and, okay, and wait for a response to each call. We've nominated Wayne Standage. Do we have any other nominees?
That was our fourth time, right? So we're good, okay. So you have all your nominations.
Okay, yeah, but I
Now you're
gotta
gonna
do
close
it two
the-
more times, right?
No, so you already did. You did that
Okay.
with, they've just all declined is all.
All right. Trying to keep
You are the
this.
chosen
Now
one.
you're at the
I call
closing of the
for,
yeah,
I call
sorry.
for a motion to close nominations for the position of chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I move that we close the nominations for chairperson.
You're just trying to save
Second.
yourself. Okay. Have we, does anyone, okay, Luciano seconded the closing of the nomination.
I got it.
I seek a second nomination. May I have a roll call vote to close the nominations, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Frank Shanebeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Muller,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes. Okay.
All right, that motion passes.
Okay, we only have one person who got nominated. I
So
call
we're
for
on
motion.
page 2.
Yeah, we flip over the side here. I call for motion to approve the first nominee for the position of chairperson.
Honorable Chair, I move that Wayne Standish be approved for chairperson.
Second.
Luciano tries to steal
Okay.
thunder.
You got him down there, Carol?
I do.
Okay, may I have a roll call vote to approve?
Certainly. Commissioner Heather Muller,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Shanebeck.
Yes.
Okay,
We all have all ayes. That motion passes.
okay, now we turn to election of vice chair. I call for a motion to open nominations for the position of vice person, chairperson.
My second.
No, are you
Gotta get
a
a
first?
Oh,
Hang on.
It's the first motion.
okay.
Okay.
Honorable
Luciano.
Chair, I move that we open the nominations for the position of vice chair.
Okay, that would be Frank now, and then Luciano, are you
Well,
gonna,
so you got your first.
Right.
And now you've had the motion, now you need to ask for the
Oh,
second.
Does anyone second the motion to open nominations?
I second the motion.
Okay.
I
you
got it.
Okay. May I have a roll call vote to open nominations, please, Carol?
Certainly. Commissioner Heather Moeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner Dale Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Shanebeck,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes. Okay.
The motion passes.
Passes, okay. May I get a nomination for the position of Vice Chairperson?
Honorable Chair, I nominate Judy for the position of Vice Chair.
Okay. Do I have a second for that?
You don't
Wait,
need it.
no, that's not.
Just
I
call
got
for any more are there any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? Three times. Okay, first time. Second time, may I have any other nominations for Vice Chair? Three times. May I have any other nomination for Vice Chairperson? Okay. Not having any other nominations, I call for a motion to close nominations for the position of Vice Chairperson. May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Chair, I move that we close the nominations for Vice Chairperson.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. May I have a roll call vote to close the nominations, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner Dale Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Shanebeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Moeller,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes. Okay,
And that motion passes.
all right. I call for motion to approve the first nominee for the position of Vice Chairperson. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to be approved for the nomination of Vice Chair.
Okay, does anyone?
Luciano, I'm sorry, can you go ahead and just, you have to enter in Judy's name. So you're making, who you're making a motion for us to approve.
Oh, I have to my name?
So everybody, yeah, the only one that's been nominated is Judy, and so you just need to
Say her
move,
name.
you need to move for Judy to be, if that's what you're wanting to do. Otherwise, somebody else.
So we're just gonna read this. We're gonna say, Honorable Chair, I move that Judy Bory be
Okay.
approved for Vice Chair.
Yeah. Honorable,
And it's right there. Honorable Chair,
write it down, please.
okay, yeah.
Judy.
Judy Bory.
I chair, I make, to close the nominations with Jody Bory for the Vice Chair.
Okay. Does anyone second the approval of Judy Bory for Vice Chair?
Second that motion.
Okay.
Who seconded that?
I snuck in there.
Dale, thank you.
Okay. Carol, may you do a roll call vote for approval of
Sure.
Judy Bory?
For Judy Bory. Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Shanebeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Moeller,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory.
Yes.
You do a good job.
Takes care of that.
Election has closed. Judy Bory has
Okay.
Who's the new vice chair?
the new vice chair.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all.
We finished the election process, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now we're turning this back over to Joel at this point. Joel, it's yours.
how it's listed, or, yeah, how it's listed's fine. Well, good evening,
Good evening.
and congratulations to the new chair and the new vice chair.
Yay.
As I stumbled through.
Thank you.
I've sat through, well, let's see, Mr. Bouzine has also, and so has Mr. Shane Beck. We've done a bunch of these vice chair, chairman things, and each commission is different. How this is read, it's fascinating, actually. So you did it, yet another rendition of it, so congratulations. But it went smoothly, and you did well. Okay. Pardon me, I have a bit of a head cold. But don't worry, it's not the other thing. So my voice will get a little scratchy, I apologize. So let's start. Actually, raise your hands. How many have been through this before? How many don't want to go through it again?
Jamie and I think Frank.
This has got to be like the fifth.
I'll try to keep it short.
Tell for Carol.
Hello, Carol. Okay, code of conduct. This document is the council's document. This thing was worked on back in 2018 and 2019. This used to be 12 pages. They got it down to 4, and they had their own little phrases in here. So I'm not going to read through everything, but we can go through the more significant ones that council wanted in a code of conduct, which does apply to you as well as themselves. So you act in the public interest. That is what you're supposed to be doing. You are here to make recommendations to council. That's essentially what this commission does. But you do it in the interest of the city, not in your own interest. Comply with the law, that's an easy one, although a lot of people don't comply with the law. Professional conduct, this is more of an appearance of impropriety rule that I lifted from the attorney conflicts, the attorney rules. So basically, I will read this one because I think it is important. They should never act on a matter where their impartiality might be reasonably questioned. They have a personal bias or prejudice considering a party or representative thereof, staff member or members of the public who support or oppose a party. Or number 3, they have personal knowledge of fact that are in dispute that would not be known by staff or the public at large. So to me, those are appearance of impropriety questions that may come up. And if those 3 things come up, you probably shouldn't be voting on the item. Public meetings and due process. There's some overlap here with this and some other items we're going to talk about, but this is common sense stuff. It really is. So I am not going to go and read those, except be respectful to each other. When you want to speak, try to get the chairman to acknowledge you, and then you'll have the floor. Try not to interrupt each other. Cell phone use, that was a big one for the council. If you have a cell phone, try to keep it turned off or on vibrate at least. Don't actually answer it in session. That has happened. That happened with a former mayor, and he took it right there on the dais, and I thought, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hello? Yeah. Well, I'm in a meeting right now. That did happen. I'll have to call you back. Yeah, I don't think you're going to do that, but. Okay, advocacy. Do you lose your First Amendment right for being on this commission? No, you don't. However, don't abuse your position either. If you are a Facebook person, and that's your life, and you get on there and you want to talk about everything like some people do, try not to preface it with, hey, I'm a Park and Rec Commission member, and here's what I believe about this, or here's who you should vote for. I mention it because the election's coming up next year for local election, which is very, very important to us, of course. And can you, as a member, advocate for somebody? No, I wouldn't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can use your position to do that. As a private citizen, you certainly can. But if people know who you are, they know you're a commission member, and you don't say you are, but they know you are, and you're on Facebook all the time, and people know that, that could be deemed as appearance of impropriety. So I wouldn't recommend it. Let's see, gifts. $25 is usually the threshold. It is at least in state government. So if someone wants to give you tickets to go to a Cardinal game, and they want you to now vote on something after that, recommend to council for a certain project or another dog park, that would be totally inappropriate. Let's see, we talked about elections already, communicating with litigants. The reason that's in there, well, I don't know why the council put it in there, but it's in there. So if there's an ongoing lawsuit, you really shouldn't be talking to a litigant who's suing the city, because you may end up in a deposition or worse, at a trial for whatever purpose that plaintiff has for you. It doesn't matter what the truth is. What will matter is you will be on the stand, and now you are stuck in a deposition or a trial. And so whatever motivation that plaintiff has, you're going to be in a very uncomfortable situation, even if you're friends, because you're going to have to choose between the city and your friendship. I don't think you ever criticize your staff, have they? No. Well, I'd criticize Jamie, but maybe not Liz. Never. Okay. These are professionals. They've been doing this a long time. Rely on their opinions and recommendations. You may not like what they're saying, or you may disagree with certain things, but at least respect their opinions and recommendations. Okay, I think incompatibility of office, that doesn't come up too much with Park and Rec, so I don't think we need that one. Rules of decorum, we kind of already talked about some of that, especially with cell phone use. Also using a computer. If you have a computer, you have a laptop, and you're typing away at it right now, I don't hear anybody doing that, but it does happen. That can be disruptive, and I wouldn't recommend that you do it. But some people do it. Is it illegal? No. Does it violate this rule? Well, yeah, it probably does. Okay, I think that's it for the yellow pages. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay. Next would be
Conflict of interest.
conflicts of interest law. Yeah, it should be. Well, it's orange in hard copy, but up there, what color is that?
Really testing. You're really testing a colorblind guy here.
I guess it depends what country you're in. I don't know.
I had a 014 in my
Okay, object and purpose of the conflict of interest law is to remove or limit the possibility of personal influence which might bear upon a public official's decision. I have a new quote in here. Some of this is new, by the way, that you haven't seen. And that's the last one. It is imperative that a public official shall have no personal interest that might clash or conflict with that of the state. One cannot serve two masters with conflicting interests. Now, the biggest kind of conflict of interest is the substantial interest conflict. So that means a pecuniary or proprietary interest. So property, that's an easy one. Pecuniary is money. So the question is, do you, as a member, have one of those? Is it a pecuniary or proprietary interest when something comes before your board? Or a relative of yours? Relative has an expansive definition on page 6, under H. Any individual within 2 degrees of kinship, including spouse, child, child's child, parent, grandparent, brother or sister of whole or half blood, and their spouses, and the parent, brother, sister, or child of a spouse. So remember, it's not just you, it's your relative too. If they have a pecuniary or proprietary interest, you should not be voting on it. Why should you care? There's a whole bunch of reasons. There's criminal, there's civil ramifications. Something bad could happen to the vote itself. It would be voided. There is a new case I added called Welch versus Cochise County. That's kind of an interesting case where it was a 3-board of supervisors, so 3 members. It's a smaller county in Cochise County. And one of the members, remember, these are elected officials. One of the members said, hey, you know what? You have a judge vacancy, and I want to be the county's justice of the peace. I want to do that. So this board went ahead and they appointed that elected official. That by itself looks a little weird, but is that illegal? No, it's how they did it. They didn't really put it on the agenda too well. And when they did have it on the agenda, they had a meeting, but they didn't immediately meet like they were supposed to. And they waited an hour. So had there been people at the meeting, they would have had to wait. That was a problem. There was also executive session discussions about it, where there were other people who applied for the position. So the individual who got the position, the board of supervisor, basically voted for himself. So there's all sorts of conflicts there. There was a conflict of interest and also an open meeting law violation. So that is a nasty case, and it got overruled. So that person did not become the JP.
Joel, that JP position down there in Cochise, isn't JP an elected position?
There was a vacancy.
So they were just filling the vacancy till the next
were.
election?
Correct.
Okay,
But still, it was a paid position,
yes.
so there was money involved. Now, there's something called a remote interest, so it could still be a conflict, but if it's remote, it doesn't count. Therefore, you can vote on it. And I've listed them here on the sheet. The biggest one is when you're in a class of 10 or more. If you are, you could vote on it. And I use an example, we had a church that wanted to add 25 feet to their steeple height. And we had a mayor at the time that was a member of that church. And he knew the people coming forward, saying, hey, we want you to vote on this. You're the mayor, you can vote on anything. Well, the mayor asked me, well, do I have a conflict? I mean, this is my church. I said, well, you're right. There's a problem there. How's that look? Doesn't look too good. However, you're in a class of 10 or more, church membership, so you can vote on it. And he did. And the steeple went up, no problem. How's it look? That's a different issue. But legally, he could do it. Going to what happens when there is a conflict, or if you don't know you have a conflict, say you have a question. Your best protection under the statute is to come to the city attorney, give me all the facts. I'll then give you my opinion. If it's something that you think, you know, I really would like to vote on this, I need something to rely on, so give me your opinion. I said, okay, here's a written opinion. I then file it with the city clerk's office, and then you vote on it. You can do that. And say I'm wrong. Well, you're fine because you relied on that opinion, which is now a public record at the city clerk's office. So you don't get in trouble. These bad things that could happen on page 2 won't happen to you. If you have a conflict, you let the chair know when the item's being read. Say, Mr. Chair, I want to declare a conflict of interest, and I'm going to step out. So you leave. You could go back, Matt needs company once in a while. You can watch the proceedings. You cannot influence the decision of others. You can't go back to Matt's office and then you're watching and say, you know, I don't like how this is going. I'm going to text Mr. Shanebeck and say, hey, get him to vote this way because he's going the wrong way on this. You can't do that. You can't influence, you can't, and you shouldn't come to the meeting and then speak as a member of the public. I've seen that happen in the past too. And they look at me and they say, well, you said I can't vote on it, so now I'm a member of the public, and now I want to speak about it. You shouldn't be doing that. I think we're done with that item, unless there's any questions.
No questions.
So open meeting law, I think, is next. So this is fascinating stuff. I think it is. Some of these cases are very fascinating. Don't laugh, Jamie. Public policy is to make sure that everything's done openly in public. That's really the intent of the open meeting law. So this agenda you have today, this lists everything. And so the public knows what you're going to talk about. And they know the order, the general order of how you're going to do it. And more importantly is what is actually listed. For example, for these items, say it was a lazy day today and Liz didn't want to write out everything. Says, okay, presentation by city attorney, period. But you didn't know what I was going to talk about. That would not be legal. Instead, everything's listed out. Sorry I made you do that, but it has to be done that way. That's just an agenda item. But that's why we have an agenda, so the public knows what's going to be discussed. Why should you care? Once again, there's A through F. Bad things can happen to you. Usually not good things when there's an open meeting law violation. You are one of the bodies, you're actually a public body because you recommend to the mayor and city council for advisory committees. That's basically what you are. And you're a board and commission, but you do advise, you recommend. So a notice of the meeting has to be done. That's a legal requirement. So the date and the time, that has to be done. There's not really emergency meetings with this particular commission. We talked about agenda already. One thing.
Joel?
Yes.
Question, how are these put out? There's not many newspapers now every day. How does the city notify the public of, maybe not our board, but of the other boards or the council meetings?
There's internet posting. There's also outside, there's posting of the notice of the meetings.
Okay.
And there's 2 additional places. I think one across the street. I think the county does it. I forget where the other one is. MGC, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
They have. You do have call to the public. You're one of the very few board and commissions that actually has that. And I don't know if you ever get people here that speak. Probably very rare. Occasionally. So what happens during that, it's usually they get 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And they get to speak that's it. There's some discretion to let them keep going a little bit, but not too much. And then if they might start trying to ask questions during call to the public, and the chair is supposed to control that and say, I'm sorry, we can't respond to your questions. You can talk to staff after the meeting. However, if it's a criticism, what if someone gets up and says, you know what, I hate where you put that dog park. It's terrible, it's a terrible location, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now you heard the arguments. Well, you can actually respond to that. That's called response to criticism. And they might try to get back up and speak, say, well, I want to respond now to what you said. No, that's over. But technically, you can respond to criticism of you and any action that you've taken.
Joel, can I ask, Do they respond, like, if somebody's up there, can they respond at that moment, or do they have to wait until everybody has done call to the public and then respond at the end? Does it matter?
Typically, you wait until, better process is to wait until everybody's had their chance to fill out a card or had a chance to speak, and then you respond to criticism. Otherwise, you're going to get people in the public saying, oh, okay, well, I'm going to jump in now and defend that person, because you don't want that to happen. So you should wait till everybody speaks, and then you do your criticism, and then you get out of here. You know, it used to be like right after roll call with the council meeting. That's where it used to be. And that was a very bad location to have it.
That made some of the council meetings very, very long.
Well, especially during an election season, especially when it was right before a recall election. And it went on for about 9 or 10 months. And every time we had a council meeting, the first item was probably about an hour. It was ridiculous. And it was very political. And there's nothing they could have done. They could have put that at the end, and they didn't do that. They finally did put it at the end, but that took, after the election. Minutes. Well, this is being recorded right now, and so it's put out on the internet. So technically, you don't even have to do minutes, but city still does. Minutes don't have to be verbatim. Some people think they do. Some people went to the AG's office to complain about me, saying they don't have to be, and I was found to be correct by the Attorney General's office. And that was a nasty battle that went on for about 9 months. But they do not have to be verbatim. I'll tell you, it's cool when they are, or very close to it. We had a former assistant city clerk for council meetings. She would be very detailed on her minutes. And then those minutes would be put in something called, it was like a database that we could look up things, and it was great. And it was a convenience for the city, and it went on for about 25 years. However, the time that it took to do that every week, or every council meeting, was at least 20 hours a week, just to do those minutes, to get them down perfectly. So when the city manager found out, oh, we didn't have to do those that way, all you have to list is what was discussed, who was there, how the vote went down, and any public who spoke. That's all you have to do with the minutes. You don't have to, and what was discussed, but you don't have to get into the exact details. You can just say generally what was moved and what was the vote. And that's it. Once the city manager found that, I said, okay, no more. We're not doing it the other way. So yeah, it kind of took away some of the ability to research things, but the administrative time was incredible to do that.
Joel, question? With the video taping, that kind of replaces having to do handwritten notes, doesn't it?
Correct. That's why I was saying,
Yeah.
you are basically doing the minutes now when this thing gets put out there. But some people don't want to sit through it, and they don't want to listen. They want things spoon-fed to them. That was the argument that I had to deal with when I said they don't have to be verbatim. But that was what the issue was. They didn't want to have to sit through, let's see, it's been about 50 minutes. They don't want to sit through 50 minutes to get to this point. They want to just be able to read it, and then 2-3 minutes later, they could find it on the agenda or on the written one out, and then say, okay, oh yeah, that's what he said. So it's a convenience thing. We don't really do executive sessions here too much. Skip that. I think that's it for the purple pages. Well, blue or whatever the color that is up there. And then we go to Parliamentary Procedure. This should be green. Let's see if it is. It is. Okay. There was a guy by the name of Henry Martin Robert. He was a soldier. He was told to go to a meeting by his commanding officer at a church meeting. It was more like a town hall. And this happened back in 1870s, and it didn't go well. So he started writing procedures, saying, I'm never going to go through that again. And so the first one was 1876. And today we sit at the 11th edition. And now this is 2021. So lots have changed, of course, but that's called Robert's Rules. When you hear Robert's Rules, that's what it is. And I'll tell you, I didn't bring the book tonight because a lot of Robert's Rules just don't apply. And if you try to make them apply, one example is, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Why is that done 3 times? I think historically is because before we had technology, if you're in a big crowd, you can't hear. And so it was unfair if you only said it once, then only the people within 20 feet could hear. So I think 3 times is why they came up with that. So we kind of keep that one going. But that's a minor thing. There's a lot of other things that don't apply in Robert's Rules. Robert's Rules, although Congress does follow them to a certain degree, it's really meant for fraternal order of associations. And a lot of cities and towns still do use them, but they are creating their own rules. So the parliamentarian, that's supposed to be the city attorney. So I get to decide if they apply. And I do have to say, over the last 24 years that I've been here, I keep it pretty general. It's a stickler when it comes to the rights of the individuals on the board. But when it comes to the absolute rule, and if you missed a motion, or you did it in a different order that you weren't supposed to do it in, I am not going to call the council out on that. I just won't. That, to me, that's inefficient, and it just bogs down the process. However, there are some general rules, and that's under goals, 1 through 7. These are all important. I'll let you read those on your own. But it's basically due process. Everybody has a right to be heard. Everybody has a right to vote, even if they're in the minority. Everybody should be respected also, all the time. There are basic motion rules, and the common ones are on page 2 at the bottom under D. And most of these are really easy. You got to get the chair to give you recognition. Mr. Chair, yes. I would like to move for, and then state what your motion is. That's how it's done.
Joel, could I just ask or add that, so I think that's one of the things we've been a little bit informal over the years, and every year we've gotten a little more formal. Like I feel like in these last few years, we've tried to get a little bit more structured. But that is one of the things that I think, as Joel shares with everybody, that I want us to think about, so that way everybody can have a chance to speak or be heard. It's really important to ask for the chair's recognition. So again, it's just Chairman Standage or raise your hand or something of that nature. Does that sound about right? And then wait for Chairman Standage to say, okay, yes, Judy, and then she would say her motion. Waiting for the chair to ask for the second before we get the second, and some of those different things. And so we've tried to give you a script just so you had an idea, but it doesn't mean you have to use the script. You can say it in your own words, as long as you use some of the words, though, that talk about that I'm moving that we do this, or I'm making a second to that.
And point of order is not really a motion. It's more of a, hey, someone's screwing up. I want to say someone's screwing up. So you don't say it that way. You say point of order, and you can interrupt when there's a point of order. Someone gets up on call to the public, and they're going now. The chair's allowed them to go 10 minutes. Well, they can go, hey, point of order. Mr. Chair, this is supposed to be 3 minutes. You've allowed this person 7 additional minutes. I think you've exceeded your authority. And then the chair can say, you know what, you can leave the room. I'm just kidding. The chair would never do that. But the chair can say, you know what, you're right.
I should have ran.
you're right. I think, Mr. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so, your time is up. But point of order could also happen in other things. And nomination of officers, this was the shortened version.
Joel,
Tonight, you went through the long version. So I think we're done with the green sheet. And then the most exciting one is the last one, public records law. So how many of you take notes on these meetings?
Time to time.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to ask you what you do with the notes because we're on record here. However, what's supposed to happen to the record, you're supposed to give those notes to a staff member, and they're supposed to keep them for 3 years. Technically, that's how it's supposed to happen. Unless you're in executive session, that's different, because executive session notes are a bit different. They're secret. However, when you're taking notes of items, and you haven't voted on something yet, and you're taking notes, technically, that's a public record. And people can ask for those records. They can get a copy of them if they want them. So be careful when you're, making cartoons of me, because I might ask for that record, and I'll find out who's the best artist.
There you go.
Joel, so they all have a binder that all their stuff stays in, and that they're kind of instructed to keep their notes and everything there. Would it be appropriate for it to stay there until their time is done with us, and then it gets filed with their file, and then kept for the 3 years? Or does it have to be like after every meeting or after every year we have to keep it?
Well, technically, they're supposed to be, the minute they're actually written down, the time clock starts, technically. I know that's a kind of a management nightmare. But I wouldn't, you have 3-year terms. You don't wait 3 years and say, okay, give me your binder now, because then
We turn them in each month, so could look
each
at it
month
that
is
way.
very reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. That was just an example for all of you, because I know that, I thought some of you were taking notes. I saw some of people writing down stuff, but
Joel, now, if you're not taking notes of a specific deal, example, the only thing I wrote down was the fact that Judy had to be in the nomination motion. That's it. Because like the stuff you presented, I take that home to have to review.
I think it's more of a substantive issue if something's going on and it's a recommendation for council and you don't really know how to vote, but you're taking notes and then you're gonna vote on it. I think that's really the intent.
Okay.
Like what was your vote based on? That's more of an administrative thing.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, sir.
So, like when we got Jamie's reports, if we take notes on that report, do they need to be submitted?
Well, you're not voting on the report, you're
No.
just doing it. I don't think that, technically it's probably a public record, but that's not the kind of, I think the public records law is meant to see what you're doing with your items. What are you doing with them? What are you writing down? The problem is, you might be writing something down that no one really cares about, but the public, remember, this is televised.
Yeah.
They're seeing you writing something down, and they might be thinking, what's Shane Beck up to? Is he gonna pass that to someone? I wanna see what he wrote. Technically, that's a public record.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I think like a lot of my little notes are like reminders to myself, like certain dates or, times or things like that. Sometimes it's just, my own memory isn't that great, so I write, those type of things down. So if I leave you all my notes, then I'm without my notes.
Well, if it's an item before that you're gonna vote on, I think, don't give those up until after the vote.
Okay.
Once you give those up, then I think they're public record.
But like you're putting down reminders of like the event that's coming up that Jamie talked
Yeah,
about,
that-
you want to know that, that's fine. You can,
That,
Type of event.
Okay.
yeah, that's not a substantive thing that you're voting on, so I think you're good there.
Joel, how does this affect a person's use of the computer?
Well, if you're typing notes, So say you have a laptop and you're taking notes based on a report or an item, a new dog park, technically those are public records. So that is supposed to be handed over to staff also. So you're supposed to print them out, or staff is supposed to print them out and then hold on to them, technically.
Well, Liz, you're safe. I don't do anything on the computer, you know that.
Okay?
But you mean in the meeting?
I'm talking about during a meeting, yes.
During the meeting? I'm
After the
referring to
meeting,
anything.
you go write things on your own? No, that, I think you're good, as long as you're not gonna be sharing that with someone and those are your personal thoughts. Yeah. Now, if you're on the internet and you're on Facebook and you're talking about, hey, we have this new dog park,
Oh, yeah.
and you're talking about it on Facebook, well, that exchange is technically a public record. So Facebook, even though we don't keep Facebook, but if someone does a public record request and they want to see your Facebook post as a commissioner, we're supposed to find those and basically give those out. Especially if you did it on a city-provided computer, which I don't know, you don't have laptops, right? Not yet.
And just as an FYI, the city has its own archive social. It's a program that is attached to all of our social media. So everything that we post and everybody's comments on it and our comments back to them, those are already captured automatically and saved as a public record. So we kind of have that covered in that regard.
Okay.
But if they're just like sharing our events and things like that, is that a big deal? You know, just as citizens in the community. So somebody likes our post or shares it.
Technically, it's a public record. If you're saying, I am a Park and Rec Commissioner, and here's what happened at the meeting, and here's our events, I mean, technically, yeah, that is a public record.
Right.
Now, if you're then sending it to individual members, say it's an email, that is and there's 3 or more that it's going to, now you got a quorum problem. And I'll jump ahead, but basically actually, that was open meeting law, I'm sorry. Quorum, I should have brought that up too. Want me to go back? I can, just for you.
I think I read.
Time's up? Okay. Why should you care? Well, there's reasons on the public records law. We get public records all the time.
Yeah.
And what are we supposed to do with them? Well, that's a question. Say it's, I want building permits for 183 North Ironwood. That's an easy one. But what if you get, I want any and all emails, communications, and other documents regarding the following items, and say it's real long. And now there's this stack of documents that, the way it works is it goes to the city clerk then sends it out to the affected department. Then if it's got things in it that I need to look at, like it's private information, or it's confidential, I'm supposed to get everything. Say it's, 1,000 pages. Am I supposed to drop whatever I'm doing to now go look at those documents? And as staff, are they supposed to drop everything they're doing to research it and get that information to me? Well, the law says we have to act promptly. It doesn't say within 10 days, it just says promptly. So you go, what the hell is promptly? Why did the legislature do this to us? Again, they don't define what they create. Well, so what happens when that happens? Then courts decide how to define. And courts have done that under promptly. And what is promptly? And I've mentioned some of that law in this paperwork. What is promptly? Yeah. But generally speaking, yeah, I am supposed to drop everything unless it affects the operation of the city, and it's a devastating effect. What is a public record? That's a long list of things, and that's under 3A on page 2.
Honorable Chair,
Yes, sir.
Say I get an email from a constituent, from somebody in the city asking me about why I voted for the dog park. And we have a discussion. And I decide I don't like the discussion, and I just decide to delete my emails that I sent. Would that be legal? Would that be all right?
No, if it's a public record, you cannot delete. You cannot delete that. And if you do, bad things could happen. But no, deleting emails intentionally, and if it's proven you did it intentionally, that could lead you into some problems. Don't delete those. Now, if it's something like, okay, yeah, Liz and I are going to lunch. Is that okay, Liz? Yeah, that's fine. That's not really, it's a public record technically, yes, but it's not substantive. It doesn't involve a vote. So I think you're okay for administrative type of things. They can be deleted. But when it comes to something substantive like that, how'd you vote on the dog park? Here's why. And you didn't like the person, so now you don't want to have those emails with that person because it disgusts you every time you see that person's name because they come up on Facebook all the time. Yeah, that's a problem. You cannot delete those. And somebody could do a public record request. She's going to come and ask you, hey, I need the following records. Now, if it's on your personal device, this was an attorney general position. What if that's where they are? It's on your personal device and the city doesn't pay for that. Well, is that a private communication? That's the question. There's been some litigation over it. The current attorney general says, well, it's really an honor system, but you're supposed to produce them. If you have, I don't know what you use as your personal device, Apple, whatever it is, Samsung. How do you get those? You have to call the company. They're supposed to produce them, or maybe you could print them out because you deleted them. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. And then they're supposed to come to me, believe it or not, and I'm supposed to read them and decide whether it's personal. If it's personal, they're not going to get them. If they're public related, they're going to get them. So that's the personal device twist to this. And that's an AG opinion, the current AG. And remember, this current AG, he's running for a different election. He's going to be gone, so a new AG could change that after Brnovich is out of office. So, you have a question?
I forgot it. Sorry.
That's all right. Okay, and prompt disclosures under page 2 under 3B. Who can obtain public records? Anybody. You can't even ask them why they want them. You can ask them, is this for a commercial purpose? You can do that because there's a fee that goes with it. We can still charge a fee, believe it or not. That's one thing the legislature hasn't totally interfered with yet. 25 cents a page for non-commercial and 50 cents a page for commercial. There's some miscellaneous case law after that. And if you want copies of any of these cases, let me know and I will get you the copies. Some of these are fascinating cases. Actually, all of them are, I think.
I'll take your word for that.
Any questions?
Is
Well,
there a limit on how long something is considered, like we have to keep the public record of, let's say, so again, I know Frank's example is kind of it's a hypothetical, but is there a limit that we have to keep them? Should we be checking that in our record retention schedule?
The state of Arizona has something called the State Archives Department. And under the law, I don't necessarily agree with this, believe me. They say, okay, every public record, any city or town, county, public entity, those are you're supposed to give those records up. And you're supposed to have a schedule of when you can get rid of them. And the state decides when, which is just ridiculous, but that is the law. They have general categories. So yes, there is a schedule. I've argued with the State Archives Division saying, well, attorney-client stuff, that doesn't count, so you're not getting any of it. And I've had that battle with them. And I've so far won those battles. But when it comes to non-attorney-client stuff, You're supposed to keep them pursuant to a schedule. Oh, and then when you do get rid of them, you have to tell them, oh yeah, and by the way, we shredded so many copies of this category and this category. That's what you're supposed to do.
So we will look at our retention schedule that we maintain, and we'll make sure that you guys know how long we have to keep items, okay?
I think it's 3 years generally, but you'd have to check the specific one for this commission. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Joel?
Well, thank you for your time. I hope you didn't fall asleep too much this time. But, thank you. Jamie, do you have any questions? You usually do. Okay. Well, thanks again. You have a great evening.
Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
We'll see you in about a year or whenever you want.
Well, we'll see. It's rare that I've been invited. Mr. Bell didn't really like my presence, so I didn't get invited that often. So, but it's an honor being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Okay. Liz, we ready to go ahead? Okay, our next item is call to the public. I see two people who aren't normally here. Do you want to speak?
I think
Nope.
he's with him, she's with him.
Oh, they're here to support somebody on the
Yes.
board. Okay, then seeing that there are no people for call to the public, we'll proceed to call for future agenda items. Does anybody have something they want to put on the agenda? Frank?
I would like to talk about the bathrooms in our parks, the restrooms in our parks.
Okay. Luciano?
No?
Heather?
No?
Judy?
Just, more information on the dog park as we go along.
I was interested to know more about the contractors who would be involved with the grants.
What do you mean? So like vendors?
Yes, because I know
there-
earlier you were talking about the grants and there'd be different contractors.
So we can share with you who the vendors are. So some of them are state groups. We haven't selected all of them, and we won't have all of that stuff. So the city goes through procurement process. So we won't have, we can tell you how that process works if you'd like.
Yeah, that'll work.
And anything that is selected by that time, we can certainly share with you. So like whatever we know we're already purchasing, we can certainly share that at one of the upcoming meetings.
Okay.
Okay. Liz, I do have one item I'd like to see. How the progress is going down there on Main Street for the Meridian.
Meeting?
I just noticed it's moving along.
That's awesome.
So that's all we have. Any other comments for future items?
Chairman Standage?
Yes, ma'am.
I will also be bringing our Parks and Rec master plan, the next steps in that. So we'll
Oh,
be
okay.
actually talking about, be perfect timing for Frank's topic, but maintenance and the inventory of our existing facilities and the list of improvements and things that'll be that are part of the 5-year plan. So they'll kind of tie
Yeah.
nicely into Frank's.
Well, I
item.
just was on Main Street just this weekend and I saw, whoa, they're moving along.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to know how their status is. Okay, we've done number 10. Number 11, selection of meeting dates, times, location, and purpose. Our regular meeting will be held 6 PM, January 5th of 2022, here in the council chambers. Do I have a motion to select future meeting dates? Need a motion, folks?
Honorable Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the Parks and Recreation Commission hold a regular meeting on January 5th, 2022 at 6 PM in the City Council chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Luciano, you're my guy here. Yep. Carol, may I have a roll call vote?
Certainly. Commissioner Luciano Bootson,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Schoenbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Heather Moeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrell Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Judy Bory,
Yes.
Commissioner D.L. Kine,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standage.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, I adjourn this meeting at 7:17.